Hey, Samantha here again. Welcome to the Quarterly Book Club. Why quarterly? Because you're busy and books are long. Again, this is for a book club for anyone and everyone who just likes to read, whether you read really quickly or read really slowly, read multiple books, read one book at a time. We just want to have fun and discuss some books, and that's what we did today. We read our very first book of 2018, which was The Lost City of the Monkey God by Douglas Preston. And I had friends with me, and you'll see them in just a moment. So I hope you like the book, and I hope you like our show. Hey, Sam here. Welcome back to the Quarterly Book Club. Why quarterly? Because you're busy and books are long. So I have with me today returning guest Nathan. You were here on the second episode, quarter 2 of season 1 for William Landay's Defending Jacob.
Yes, loved it.
Yep.
Didn't think I would. You were right.
Yep. I remember you texting me like, "Oh, this is so boring," and then by the time we got here,
it was one of the slow start, and then all of a sudden, bam! It got very interesting. I enjoyed it.
It was a good book. And then we have newcomer Alanna.
Hello.
So you are a Mad Lab actress.
Actor.
And that's how we all know each other. That's how I met you. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So 2018, quarter 1, we are doing this year's theme of historical nonfiction. And I decided to start with a bit of an adventure, The Lost City of the Monkey God. So first off, you guys had replied to wanting to do this. What did you think the book was going to be based on its description?
Well, I saw that was nonfiction, which is great because I've been trying to read more of that. And at first I was like, okay, so this is going to be one of those post-colonial adventure stories where this waspy white man goes into the jungle and catches some mysterious illness. And part of me really believed it was going to be that, but the bigger part of me was like, you know what, it wouldn't be in this book club. It wouldn't be published in 2017, 16, if it were that type of story. So I was giving it a chance.
And then were you surprised? Did you like it, dislike it?
I liked it overall. I appreciated the kind of hodgepodge of genres it ended up being. And I do appreciate that it did address the history at the beginning which was kind of tough to get through. Then it came back to that afterwards. Where it was like, oh, you have all these modern people who kind of felt how I felt at the beginning of the book, just reading the title, Lost City of the Monkey God. I was like, come on, white guy. But
Right.
just to hear these other respected anthropologists like Dr. Joyce, her letters, I was like, okay, so I'm not just being that way. Other people were other people felt that way, and then I'm not so much on that side. I personally wish that when he wrote the little blurb or whatever, I'm like, you could have gone back to the high and mighty stuff that you were talking before.
What did you think based on the description that made you want to do this episode?
Based on the title, when I think of The Lost City, the Monkey God, the first thing that shoots into my head is something like Indiana Jones, and then the nonfiction, I'm thinking, okay, it's got to be really based off of a lost city, and then just looking at the picture, when you see what looks like a forest, what looks like and you find out it's obviously a jungle. It got me interested in thinking, okay, so when you're, a lost city, if it's that lost, something had to make it like that. Is it going to be a story where you find out there's some type of, there's some type of creature, you find out there is some type of tribal thing, there's some sort of curse or something. So I was intrigued definitely just by that first visual of the picture, and then the title itself I thought was interesting, Monkey God, it's uninhabited by man, and it was profoundly just like types of apes and things like that, to where man and almost Planet of the Apes sort of thing.
See, my mind went to Michael Crichton's Congo.
Oh, I loved Congo.
The book and the movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But then I started reading it, and Oh wait, we're not into that part yet. It was just
It's
what we
okay.
think of the time.
So yeah,
sorry.
so you did give your thoughts on when you finished. What about when you finished the book?
I was just happy. I was just happy.
I can't say I disagree.
I felt like I was listening to just an episode of National Geographic. Like I didn't like. I mean, parts of the book I enjoyed very like the middle. Like once it started to get going, and you got into more of the adventure side. Like I understand like why I guess it was set up the way it was. Like to give you a brief history of everything. To hear just how difficult it was to get to where they did in 2015. Right? Yeah. Just to get to where they did, and I appreciated all that. But man. I ended up going from reading it in the book. I had to get a book on. I had to.
I did it on audio too.
I had to do it on audio because I found I tried to stay awake and I tried to appreciate it because I know what it's like to write something, especially like music wise, when people are like, man, those first 30 seconds need to be over. Like, and I didn't want to be unappreciative, but I had to get it on audio, and I enjoyed it more on audio.
Yeah.
I was able to appreciate it more, and I could retain more.
Yep.
Well, at least with this style of book.
Well, I had the nice short chapters, which like I appreciated. It was like because it was like even as like a history science nerd, I am like we're like this is fascinating with the lead art and like
Yeah,
all this
I thought that was
preparation.
really cool.
I love the prep. Like it's
All the
really
prep
boring,
work.
but I was like this is so interesting because it's not in my field. But
Yep.
the short chapters helped because like I almost gave. I was like maybe I should do the audiobook because I did at one point. I was just like.
Right.
Browsing every,
What got me was I
yeah.
kept having to go back, and I'm like, if I keep having to go back, I'm not gonna want to do this.
Yeah, you
And I
had
don't- and I
messaged me a couple times
and I
about
want
it.
to push myself because I want to read more. So now that I've listened to it, I'm almost done listening to it twice. I'm going to try to go back and read it because it didn't say unabridged. And
Right.
unabridged means that that's word for word, right?
Right.
Okay. And when they didn't say unabridged, I'm like, well, crap. Am I missing out because I didn't read it? So I'm glad that you read the book because I'm wondering if there's insight that you might have that the audiobook didn't. So that's what I'm interested in here.
Yeah, I tend to I love nonfiction stuff. I love learning about things. I do read a lot of nonfiction, but I have when it gets really technical, and because I hate textbooks. And when they start reading like textbooks, I zone out and I don't retain anything because I identify with that too. So I had to listen to it on audio in order to pay attention to it because if it starts reading like a text, like a textbook, I'm like, no. Oh crap, I got to go back and reread this entire page. So yeah, it's fun stuff. For me, this one was not my absolute favorite. I loved the first half. So I love the prep. I'm with you there. I love all the prep work. I love all the techie stuff. It's really cool. I was so excited to get into what they found.
Yes. Yeah.
They didn't get into it. And I was.
Well, it's so new and just like this, like the scale of the site. It's like, wow, this. I'm surprised to even publish this book, but it was just a sense of urgency. Like even towards the end, when he like has like this really down. Like this downer message, where I'm like, okay.
Oh my God, yes.
Like,
I wonder how bad it was.
depressed.
Yeah. So the leishmaniasis, is it as bad in the because the last I would say 2 minutes is just how we are almost doomed in the United States. Like it's in Texas and Oklahoma.
Texas, Oklahoma, spreading.
Yeah, and it's just spreading. Yeah,
We're like,
it's,
oh,
it's like everybody beware, but good luck.
Yeah.
Like,
Wash your hands.
You've got leishmaniasis, malaria. Go. Like, and you're
It's
just,
here
and, and it's just like, okay, like that threw me for a loop because like after chapter 20, chapters 21 through 27 are just I don't want to say useless filler because that sounds mean, but it just seemed like drag. I think you could have
even
taken
on audio.
that last because at least the last 2.5 hours on audio are those 6 chapters, and in my opinion, I mean you could have narrowed all that down into 30 minutes.
Right. I was dragging with that one.
It was nice to hear like how each person in the group was handling the disease and where they went and everything. But it's just like the title of the book is Lost City of the Monkey God, not the Lost City of the Monkey God and.
Well,
Right.
the thing is, I think it was like I said that I kind of forgave my first impression, but the fact that part dragged on so long, it felt like he's trying to bring in like, ooh, the city's cursed, this like jungle
Yeah.
disease because we entered this cursed place. And like, you know what? Yeah, it's good that you're spreading awareness of like the leishmaniasis or whatever, but yeah, it just felt like it dragged on. And then
One or
it
two
didn't
chapters
address,
is fine.
like, yeah. And like one thing I found interesting, it didn't address the like whether or not the female members of the
He
What-
texted
Yeah.
me about that.
What chapter was the first female given a line?
Oh.
Not when was the first female mentioned, because when did the first
was
female
like-
have a line?
It was like chapter 21, was it?
What was the was it archaeologist or anthropologist?
Archaeologist.
Yeah, she. It was when they landed. I think her first line was, "I'm stuck."
oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one of her first lines, because there is a subtle mention of his what was the main guy's name? They
I
never
don't
said his
remember.
name. I've
I
listened
read
to
this
it
book
twice,
like a
yeah.
month and a half ago.
I know. I'm on chapter 24. I almost finished the second time, and they never say his name.
It never occurred to me until he said it.
The writer, the one who's narrating the book. I don't. You know his
Douglas
name?
Preston?
Yes. Oh yeah.
it is.
Yeah,
it is
right here.
No, I didn't know if it was based on.
But like he never introduces
Yeah, he never
himself.
introduces himself.
Yeah,
He
that's
just-
what it is.
I didn't know if it was him or if it was someone else.
Told to
but
him.
other than he mentions his mother in the very, very early chapters, and then it's just, like you were talking about, this guys going on trips. It's guy, and then eventually. They bring it's the 2015 when they're there after everybody has done everything. Then they fly in extra people when they are
Yeah,
aware
So
that
many extra people.
Lots
Yeah.
and lots.
yeah, that was another thing. Just trying to rip all the names
Yes.
and getting over like the way he would say certain things. Like I think he wanted to say like bath salts, and he would be like basalts, and like certain things.
No, that's
Basalt's
a rock. Basalt
yeah.
is a,
Oh, it is? Okay.
not bath salts.
In
We're not
disregard.
in Florida.
But
A lot of
yeah, a lot of names. That was. But I mean, it's nice to be informative, and I guess I would want. I don't know if it's one of those things where if you don't mention them, you can't publish the book, sort of thing. Like if they were a part of it, then they have to
Yeah.
be placed in. So, but
Well, since we're getting into specific parts, we're talking about favorite and unfavorite, favorite and not so favorite sections. When they started bringing in the other archaeologists, this was my absolute favorite line. And the one really cocky guy that was like,
Bruce?
and he's,
yeah,
Which cocky guy?
Bruce
I
Hadley?
don't remember the name.
Woody?
The original? Wait. Yeah. Who?
But I don't remember his name, but the line he said made me laugh out loud when I was listening to the book, because he
Get
said,
off the plane. That was my favorite. It's like,
well, one of the things he said, I'm the archaeologist, or I'm the Indiana Jones of archaeology.
Oh, the
Now-
guy, Begley?
Yeah, that jerk, the
one
really
he was,
cocky
like,
guy.
Wanted to be a part of the, like was invited, and didn't want to be part of it, and then it was just like,
And then he shows up like, I'm the best. But that line cracked me up because, you know what Indiana Jones's profession is?
grave robbing.
He's an archaeologist. So Indiana Jones is the Indiana Jones of archaeology. So that one I was like, you're dumb. So I did not like that guy.
Yeah, the thing is, I didn't notice until like I went back and like was reviewing it. He's introduced way early on in the book, and then he comes back afterwards, and he's like extra-douching. That's where that line comes in, and I rolled my eyes at him. It's like, because the line was placed right after I think the author explained how this expedition was different from old-timey archaeology
Yeah.
expeditions. And
well, especially with the LiDAR, that was the most interesting.
That was really
thing,
cool.
Was figuring out, just like hearing what it did and everything, and I would get frustrated when it's like, because it never actually said like they had found it. They thought they did, and then there was the speculation with everything. And I could be wrong. I don't think that they ever 100% state we have found the lost city of the monkey god. We have found Ciudad Blanca.
Well,
or
the
did
thing
they
is,
just
whole
hint to that
thing
they
is like,
yeah.
it's all based on the whole mythos of Honduras and like the
Yeah.
culture of the people. So technically there is no city of La Ciudad Blanca. Even the president, he names it the city of the jaguar.
Yeah, and that's another
Yeah,
thing. I was
it's
like, right at
monkey,
the end, I'm
jaguar,
like, well, shouldn't it
snake.
be? Yeah.
So like the four animals of like was that culture. It was the monkey, the snake, the jaguar, and I'm blanking.
vulture.
Thank you. Yeah, and the vulture, and that was really interesting to me too. And so they have all those animals everywhere, and this one is like, this is the monkey god, and then the culture is it's cursed. You shouldn't go there. But I think, and you're right. They can't. It's a real place, but not a real place.
Well, like I think goes in like one of my favorite parts of the book when it goes back into like pre-Spaniard days, where it's like on the cusp where everything's kind of going great, but also about to fall apart, and the Europeans come and just like wreck everything.
Yep.
When they go say like,
Especially with the disease and everything.
Yeah.
It's like, well, Columbus came with this, and then it's like 15 this, there's this many people, and then by 1532, it was like
There was this many people.
only
So like
10%
your
of that.
happiness
Right.
meter is just like, oh.
Like, oh, they found something. This is so cool. Ooh.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But back to the name of like this monkey god, where like okay, I feel like this part could have been stressed more, where the president, the people like Honduras has all this crime and all this craziness going after the hurricane and just like the changes of regime. Like this was important for the country's identity.
Yeah.
So another part where I forgave him, like, okay, you call it the book The Lost City of the Monkey God because that is the identity of the people of Honduras. Like that's what the whole mythos is based on. Okay, I get it. Like even though the city is informally, technically, officially named the City of the Jaguar. So I think it's still
Yeah.
technically like T1. And,
Yeah, T1
Yeah.
and T3 were the
T1.
two big ones.
Yeah.
And when they discovered the mass of how big this really is, I thought that was really neat, because one of the things that I wrote down was like in his
Oh, the kilometers thing, because I remember when he
yeah,
sent
because
the...
they're sending
he's like,
how
this
big
is
the
just like
city
10,
is.
10 kilometers, and it's like, oh, I read that wrong. It's like 1,000 or
Yeah,
something.
because the guy who was sending the information, so the guy could do the scan, mistyped.
Yeah.
And I was like, and his excitement, he mistyped it, and I was like, that's why you double check things. So, but the dude found it, and was like, guys, this place is way bigger than we thought it was.
Bro.
So, bro.
Sure. He's definitely my favorite person on the expedition, like the head archaeologist, where he's just like taking off to the jungle, and the survival guys are just like, what are you doing? He's just like gone into the woods, and they're like, well, we're never seeing that guy again.
Right.
He has all the equipment and stuff, and he just pops back out. And it's like,
Come on, guys.
I want to follow that guy. I'm really sad that his university isn't backing him up. Like, it just isn't pure enthusiasm. Like, I want to be an archaeologist.
Right, it kind of makes you feel that way. You're like, oh, I want to go discover things.
I want to like just... Because like when they were like in the helicopter and he was already being able to get like the scan readings on the... I was like, that's so cool.
And that was the first time they were able to use that.
And laser... I can't remember the whole thing. But I think it was... just that...
Like a laser radar scanning mechanism,
I just
basically.
thought that was... to me, that was, as far as like from the science side of it, I thought that was the most interesting thing. Because like all the people who had gone before, whether you believe they were there or not, whether you believe that people had found the city prior, it was just neat to see how technology has kind of evolved and paved the way just to see what they, without even being down there. Not to mention what they found when they were down there.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very interesting.
I love that the technology allows people to kind of like dig through the trees without like well, maybe not touching. Laser has some kind of radioactive, but like very minute. We're like, oh, you can actually go through and kind of dig through these trees and see the raises or whatever, the caches and whatnot.
And with weather.
Yeah.
Like that was another
Definitely.
thing. Like it's one thing when it's like it's beautiful and there's nothing to bother, but when like because like the last couple of days wasn't it was just all rainy.
Yeah.
And rainy's being blunt, it got like
Rainforest
heavy like
In the dry
yeah.
season.
Yeah.
And then all the
they're
was
like-
it the gnats or not the gnats, the sand flies,
Yeah.
the sand flies.
Foreshadowing to the last 6 chapters.
Yeah, right.
All depression and
But I love the chapters when they were in the jungle,
Yeah.
because that's like
And that
the
was the
science
big
stuff was
meat
really
of it.
cool. But
Yeah.
I loved
yeah.
that. So if you guys were on an expedition, would you be more afraid of the snakes, the jaguars, or the bugs?
bugs.
Definitely the bugs. I can
Agree.
handle like I I went undergrad in the middle of nowhere. Like snakes, just snakes and wildlife everywhere. So like, okay, I can deal with this. But like bugs, they could get everywhere. Like even when the author was in the tent and
With
he
the
just,
mesh.
Like, yeah,
They're
he
still
thought
in
he
there.
was fine, and then there were just like bugs everywhere. He's just killing
I
this
loved
book.
Yep.
Oh my
when
god.
he takes. They were too strong. The shell was death. The shell was too strong to smash. To smash. That was it. A tick or chigger?
It was the sandfly.
Yeah, the sandflies.
Oh, it was the sandfly.
Yeah.
He's like, because he like it was
You
too hard, so he
can't
put it
squish
on his
him.
book. He's like, I just start stabbing. Yeah. And then by the last time he did, like, I had to throw his book. He had to throw the book away, and I just thought that was so funny because, of course, by then you don't know about the leak. You don't have.
Yeah. I had
you
no
know.
idea what leishmaniasis was until this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
just
you're
like,
just
oh,
thinking
gosh.
like, okay,
Yeah,
he's got
it's gross.
like when you get bit by a mosquito or something here, you're just like, oh, okay. So when he's talking about, I'm thinking he might come home with something, but I was not thinking the leishmaniasis.
Something
I hadn't even
that
heard
big.
of it until.
Yeah, I was thinking definitely malaria because I've taken
Well,
malaria medication for prevention because when I was in the Navy, we traveled to Africa a couple times. So it is not a great medication. Oh my gosh. So it's really gross, but no malaria we came back with. But I was expecting malaria because that's what I knew. And
Well, when he was talking about no mosquitoes, I couldn't remember if malaria was only like given to you by mosquitoes. So I was just trying to think of what else it could have been, and then when he was explaining, I was like, oh, okay, at least I knew one thing about mosquitoes, but the whole leash, oh my gosh, and just like how the face Kenny rode away.
yep, that was really gross when he's got the big thing on his leg, like it looks like it's a just
Boil.
eating all of that's big boils, and he's like, it doesn't hurt. I don't know, and you're like,
body
oh.
reaction.
Sort of made me think one of those old Saturday Night Live skits where they're trying to like one up each other with things like that's all I could think of. I can do one on my arm. I don't care. It's just fun. I can see the guys all getting together. Like the one guy has on the back of his leg, and he's just like they're all just sitting there like yeah.
Yeah, I
Here,
thought
let's
it might be
compare.
some kind of like fungus or something. It was like when it was
The
foreshadowing.
fungus among us.
Yeah, the fungus among us. So like maybe they're just in the middle of this like untouched land, or like hasn't been seen by man in forever, and like there's a lot of like interaction with the monkeys, and like there's probably some kind of like fungus that grows in the fur or something. So it took me by surprise.
Well, I was
And the
wondering-
one plant that they were hacking away
Oh,
that
yeah.
was
Yeah.
oozing
'Cause
stuff.
when they said don't touch the flowers.
Yeah.
The chapter was chapter 17, I think, or something. It's like, the title is "Don't Touch the Flowers," and so right away
They're gonna touch the flowers.
Thank you. They're gonna do it. And then I wondered, well, they didn't technically pluck it, but they.
Some kind of chemical reaction.
Yeah, but that's what
with
I'm
the
wondering.
skin or something.
Like, and then was anybody wanting someone to die? I mean it respectfully. Did you read that whole? Listen to it, read it.
I was expecting. I was waiting for
I
it.
was really afraid that someone was going to die. Like someone, because he has this tendency to like put these people up and like, I don't know, that give everyone this kind of glow, and he starts to focus
Yeah.
on them. And I was like, oh no, this person's going to die.
Yeah,
I was
we're so
expecting
conditioned
Bruce
to think
die.
that.
Bruce was my favorite because he was the caucus of Bruce. Yeah, I think Bruce Hannigan.
Heineke?
Heineken. Thank you. Yeah, he was my favorite because
He was good.
he's that person that I always want to be, but I know I can't because even though I'm big, I still like cower. Like I want to be that guy that's just like get off the plane, or like when he's talking about his stories, and he's like off the record.
He's like,
I-
Yeah,
don't write a word of this
off
until
the
I'm
record.
dead.
Yeah,
Was he the one who shot his finger off? His journey was not without adventure. At one point, his finger was shot off. The exact
I know he got
circumstances
shot
were
in the knee.
unclear.
It was attacked by a jaguar.
And he took out like the fer-de-lances too, like just whoosh.
I think that was Woody.
Yeah,
Was it Woody?
Yeah, Woody is the one that
I
he's
don't
the
have
one
these
that
characters straight at all.
He's the one that surprised me the most, just as far as his candor in handling at least the fer-de-lance that was about to attack Doug, because he was talking about getting lost,
Yep,
and then on his way
face
back,
to face with it.
guys. Well, no, at that moment, you go for, like, because this wasn't a book that I felt like I was there. Like some books, you feel like you were like in the moment. Like I kind of felt like I was there, but more, I don't want to say looking down, but like I felt like I was there, but just
Observer.
thank you. But at that moment, like I could put myself there, and I could put myself feeling what he's feeling. Just that, you can't move, but you want to, and then Woody comes over, and that was the point. I'm like, finally, there's something that's that's really going to happen.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, well, he wrestles it. It kind of spits on his hand a little bit. Cuts the head off. Just saves the body because it's good eating.
Yep.
I love that
Good
line.
eats.
It's
Good eats.
And then,
Squirrel, I don't
but
care,
that
it's good.
was a pretty much other than the lot from other than chapter 21 to basically 27. Other than that snakes, there was almost no real sense that anybody was going to be like really harmed. You didn't think about death
Right.
until the end. Like you had Stephen, fall down the hill because of his leg.
Mm-hmm.
The female archaeologist who got stuck in the mud. You're wondering, is she just going to keep going?
Yeah,
Because
that's
I don't
scary.
want to say damsel in distress, but it seems like there was only one real distress moment other than the snake. And it happened to the first
yeah.
female lion. I'm just like, there's a lot of women pissed off, but all right.
Yeah, there was an eye roll there.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
as someone who has been stuck
one of
in
the-
mud, I totally get it.
Well, it could have been. I think she just happened to be ahead of everyone, I guess, or unless they jumped over it and she just missed it.
Well, the thing is, I think it might have just been an equipment thing. Judging by the picture that was given of her, like she's a pretty small person, so maybe it was just the gear not fitting.
Yeah. Well, I know
Really.
with her boots. I know the boots.
just-
the boots sank, and then
And then that mud just sucks around and suctions you
Exactly.
into it. Yeah.
Well, there was one of the additional archaeologists. I can't remember where exactly. I think he was an archaeologist from Honduras. He was an older gentleman. He fell or pulled his muscle in his leg.
was it,
Yeah.
I think the Stephen guy, the one that he would refrain from going out because he already had a problem with his leg, and then once they found something,
He was just
he's
like,
like, they got to walkie talkie, get me there.
Yeah.
And then I forget something with the water because the later chapters while they were there. They were talking about the water being too high and starting to get dragged away and everything. And I know that's when Stephen had fallen down the hill, and that was pretty much it for him. He got life flighted back.
Yeah.
So
Man, can you imagine being life flighted out of a situation when you're like, this is the breaking moment.
I've been
Like, this
working
is
on.
then everybody,
that's horrible.
and then all the naysayers, all the no.
There's nothing
How
there.
dare
What's
you?
happening?
No, it's just
Yeah, what is that about? They
That's
checked
what
to make
threw
sure
me
no
off.
one there's proof or lack of proof. No one had found this before. There's no record of it. If they did, they didn't report it, which is illegal. So
Right.
they don't really deserve the credit. So
the one that had the 1,500 photos. Was that Woody? Who in the wall? He didn't have Ziplocked or whatever. He didn't have the.
Oh,
that was
the cover.
Venison.
Yes.
Venison, yeah.
The guy who
Yeah.
funded the whole thing.
And then they had to re-image, or were they able to they had to recover
No,
them?
they tried to. They tried. Apple
couldn't.
tried to. I thought that was interesting.
That's right,
That they,
yeah.
they mentioned it was funny to actually to listen when they brand recognition, not just any camera, the Nikon camera, not just any company that couldn't get the
Yeah.
Apple whatever.
I think it was kind of a good nod to Apple. We recruited all of the people we could to fix this,
Yeah.
and it's just broken. It's gone.
But what
No
threw
amount
me off
of
was
geniuses can do this.
well, not only did I kept thinking 2015. He couldn't have been the only one taking pictures. Not only did you have the LiDAR evidence and
Well, this
the
was the
camera.
additional expedition down the river. It wasn't on the camp on the actual base. They were just trekking on a beautiful day down the river. So
Yeah, just seeing what they
it
could
was
find.
just an extra thing, which sounds gorgeous.
But when
know,
they were
right?
actually,
I
when
would
they
do
were
it.
actually, what they thought was there and taking pictures, where I'm getting at is all everybody just belittling. When they get back, then you've got people. Yeah, there's some praise, and then there's the. No. I'm tired of people saying they've been there. It's almost like they couldn't do no matter what they did. It didn't matter. And I was also wondering if because the one guy who took the moral stance of saying no, we shouldn't take anything out. Because yeah. Was that Chris? Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Because they wanted to take at least one cash item out, and no. We have to, it has to be preserved. We can always come back.
But
that
then
sort
they
of thing.
worried. But I thought the legitimate point that they were worried about the looters once
Yeah.
it got out where it was.
Because that's what I was thinking even more so to take something more as more proof, and they were and even the soldiers that they had hired to, help them and protect them were probably already, contemplating, their arrival into the city. Like, once these white guys leave, we can, we can come in and, basically take over. And I just was thinking the whole time, have some evidence. If these people are going to just, not be there and to say that you didn't go, have something, like, show them this artifact, show like the monkey with the erection or what, something.
Well, the thing is, like, they had plenty of pictures. They had the LiDAR scans, and even Dr. Juan Carlos Hernandez, the guy who was actually from Honduras, who worked the LiDAR scan. It was like he took pictures with it. So
that's what kept
plenty of evidence. So I can understand. Cause like at first, when they were beginning that, when the guy was like, "All right, so what should we do?" It's like, they could take a piece and sell it for fundraising and stuff, but also like immediately before like even got to that line where Chris was like, "No, this is immoral." It's like, there's plenty of evidence, and the fact that the regime is actually really behind this, it goes back to that sense of identity. It's like, no one's going to take this. Like, not only, like, the soldiers, they're all, like, from indigenous people, so that's part of their heritage, too. And they're, like, special forces soldiers. Right. So they're, like, not just some grunt military guys. They're like, we're going to take this, sell this, do whatever, let's loot it. This is part of their culture. And the fact that, like, all of Honduras, all these people have this connection to this mythos that has proven to be real. Like, I felt a little more optimistic before even, like, the author was, like, swayed by the moral argument. And he raised some pretty good points. Like, it's really dense jungle. Yeah. Like, it's not really profitable compared to, like, drugs. And
right, and if they can't get through with all their gear, like, looters aren't going to try that hard.
Yeah, and, like, drug guys, they're making money with drugs. And even the people who are clearing the pastures, they're making money from McDonald's. So, like, it's not really as profitable.
Did you guys look up what the fer-de-lances looked like?
Yes.
I did, yeah.
Holy
they're really pretty, but you cannot see them. Oh my gosh! When he stepped right over them twice, going to the bathroom, coming back, and was like, "Oh God, you were right there the whole time." They're gorgeous snakes.
Beautiful, but they blend in so well, which was part of the terror.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not afraid of snakes, but poisonous ones,
strong and big and like,
and that can kill you, and
like, what?
That's losing limbs type of poison.
I thought it was very dumb of the author to like choose the tent or the hammock. Like he's like, I was so relieved to be on like solid ground. Like the hammock is there for a reason. It's waterproof. It's above the ground. Like. Why are you lying? That snakes can't really. Well, they can, but like it's
in the jungle. Do as the survivalists do. So is this type of book outside of your normal reading habits?
No, I read a little bit of everything. It's actually kind of a good culmination of like things I read, like historical, a little bit of historical fiction with some of the legends, like history with the storytelling, excuse me, and just the scientific. It really was like a lot of the things I read. I probably would not have picked it up. Or I would have picked it up and it would have sat on my shelf for like years before reading it. It wasn't something where like, I have to read this text. And especially with the author, which is kind of like one of my personal, like I'm going to give it the side eye. I'm like, okay, waspy guy from the East who wrote all these bestsellers. Like, what's so great about your writing other than you had that foot up? But it's other than it reading kind of like Dear Diary, National Geographic, which is his job. It wasn't bad.
Cool. Is this outside of your reading habits?
Absolutely.
So was the last book that you were on?
When it comes to nonfiction, it has to be something that I hold a passion for. Like if it's music related, I will read it no contest. If it's sport related, I will definitely read it, and I will give it its due. And like I said earlier, like I can appreciate it for the middle chat. I'll include the beginning and the middle, but it was informative and I enjoyed it. I guess, but it was definitely outside the realm. Had it not been recommended, I don't even think I would have it on a bookshelf. If somebody gave it to me, then it would by happenstance, I wouldn't throw it away.
It is.
A little coffee table.
Yeah, the
Like I have,
first
like I said, I
time.
have the hardback at home, and now that I guess I can say I can appreciate it and try to read it just to see. I mean, almost like when you read a book and then go see the movie. I'm wondering if that's the same with an unabridged audiobook to a real book, because this is only the second audiobook I've ever listened to. So I'm still kind of getting used to having somebody read it, having somebody interpret it, and taking away my freedom to interpret it. So I'm interested to read it and see if there's a difference. But it would just. To be away. Yeah,
it was one of those for me too. Like I saw when the hard copy first came out, I saw it in a store and my eye went right to it. It was a beautiful hard copy, and I was like, Lost City of the Monkey God. All right, that's a cool title. And then I put it on my Goodreads shelf, and then I started seeing it everywhere, and I was like, because it was one of those things that I was just like, it keeps popping up to me in random places, and I'm like, dang it. Okay, fine. So I put it on my list, and I'm glad I did. It was really informative. I loved some of the cultural stuff that he did talk about. Like, I definitely learned something new because.
For people, for those that enjoy this sort of thing, it's very informative. And I don't know if my tone was wrong when I said it. It was no. I mean, when I was saying how it was just like listening to to an episode of National Geographic.
Well, it does get that.
Yeah, it really does.
Like, okay.
Yeah, because that's all. I mean, it's like
a 3-hour special, and you're like
instead of like visually watching everything, it's like I'm sitting to the side while it's playing. But for someone who like I said, if it was based off of music or based off of a sport, I can't say that I wouldn't be enthralled to have to have the history, the pre, the middle, and then the post. So for someone like that, in that retrospect, I can see how they would love it.
I wish it did have a little more information on what they found.
Yes.
Because I really like the archaeological side of it. The science side is really fascinating, but the archaeology is really what I wanted them to dig into really hard.
Especially when they talked about all the things that they were scanning, the pillars, the pillars
and I was like, come on.
everything.
What
It's
about
like,
those 2 white pillars that they flew over and then never addressed
I
again?
never talked about it again. But
What were those? Where were those?
in order for you to scan it, it has to, be pretty big for it to be in that detail. Because they talked about the detail, like, oh no, you're mistaken. We found look at this detail, like. Okay, well, where's more of that information?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure a lot of that's probably classified, and there's probably I can only
It might
imagine
be.
on
Off
the
the
red
record.
tape.
yeah.
That guy had to die for us to hear those.
He
great
was the only
stories.
one that they would talk about died because they were talking about revisiting or something, and they were talking about Bruce. Bruce had died, and that was it. No one got attacked by snakes. No one died from the sand. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
But
The thing is, we don't know because the book was published, there are people still suffering with the leash thing. So maybe there's someone with a half a face from the expedition out there walking around.
That's terrible.
Which is terrible, but also we don't know if anyone died from the expedition because that was 2 years ago.
I'd be really interested to see what they find in maybe a book 2 or something, or some sort of documentary because so I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's just so soon.
Yeah, it was very quick, and I'm like, if you could have waited on this and had more,
but there's just that urgency to
right,
maybe get funding. Maybe this book is funding the guy who had to buy out his class.
And the president did take a risk on these guys to approve them to go in. So he needed to show something. So would that make sense?
The clearance stuff was really interesting. Clearance stuff was interesting because I've been on trips where they've luckily they found my tuba. So when he was talking about I can't remember who it was. It might have been Fisher, but I don't. When they first lost all the LiDAR stuff, when they had the bag.
I immediately thought of you. I thought of you.
I'm sitting there thinking, I've had that happen. Not only my tuba, but 2 other tubas were lost, and it's just they weigh 60 pounds. They're it's like a 4 foot by 3 foot case. It's a big honking instrument. One. Okay, 3 in a row.
3.
Yeah, and luckily they found them. They sent them to France, and we were trying to go to Ireland, and it's just okay, this is 3 or 4 days later. This wasn't instantly. Oh, we'll have them back to you in a couple hours. We're sorry. No, they're just So when he and
they're gone.
And that was with people who were spoke English, and I mean but they're in in an area where they're, if they don't have somebody to translate, it's like you're at their mercy, and these people are trying to well, if they see something in your bag they like, it's like, oh well, can I hawk this? What can I do with it? So that's the whole time I'm thinking he ain't getting his bag back. He ain't getting nothing back. You know how expensive that thing is? They're selling that and doing whatever for some guy probably bought food for his family for a year almost or something with that. So that section I just started cracking up because he ain't getting. Oh, bag is gone.
I was afraid he was going to be arrested in the U.S. or something dumb. And I'm there's this guy just trying to do things for science, and the American government's going to mess up again and just arrest him. He's going to be locked in a room forever. Heineke's going to have to call a guy to save him.
And then they'll be all shuffled in paperwork and red tape.
Yeah,
this guy never existed. What are you talking about?
But then the bags show up. Just without incident. Yes.
Good. All the gears work. All right.
Guy gets to keep his job. It's wonderful.
And then when they're in the plane, and the pilot, he couldn't be more optimistic about that plane. And then
I was oh crap.
And Preston's just like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, I'm positive, but just as long as we we have to stay within 60 feet. You can't get 60 feet left or 60 feet total. As long as I maintain, stay going.
We're good.
Yeah, we're good. The tape's going to be fine, and you just have, you can't, and then he moves his legs or whatever, and then
shuts off.
Shuts off the machine. And it's just oh.
What else could go wrong? It's like a sitcom.
And that's where I was thinking, they're not going to have that raft that just magically inflates while they're falling in mid-flight like Indiana Jones, and they just magically land and just glide down the snow and everything, or land wherever everything's
the Indiana
fine.
Jones of archaeology,
But there are certain parts where he did a great job of keeping it intellectual but funny, to keep you
he had a
engaged.
sense of
There are certain
humor.
parts in that retrospect I just absolutely loved. So, yeah.
Good. Any favorite quotes or anything you learned?
Write them down.
I mean, there's tons of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I listened to the audio as well. So I was I would save clips in the app that I was using, and then I had
Technology.
Can't wait.
All right. We can scan jungles. We can save audio clips.
21st century.
It's here.
So what one do you got?
Were you? So a couple of the ones that I saved that I thought were pretty neat.
Mine are from Bruce. I mean, off the record stuff. I love that section. What was the other one? The plane where he's like, when he's talking about telling the guy to get off the plane because his friend needed to get a flight. That was my other one.
Yeah.
He's just winning again. He's like, who was the last person that was?
My friend needs to see.
Fucking plane. Sorry for cursing. But it's a quote. It's okay.
No, it's a quote. He said it.
Yeah, there you go.
Plenty of
That's fine.
F-bombs.
At least you're not flipping out the camera this time.
And that's what threw the guy's voice.
Sideways though, because you liked it. He's a jerk.
His voice, I would say, as far as listening to the guy's voice, who voiced the audiobook, was,
I liked the narrator.
So when he cursed, that was his main first one, the F-bomb. It was just so. It was like, oh, all right. Because I was just about to pause and go to. Let's listen to another minute. Let's see where he's going with this. Let's see where this goes. So in that case, it was just very interesting.
I wish Bruce had lived a little longer, but then we wouldn't have the stories.
Oh, Bruce.
Yeah. I would almost argue that they should, if they could post a book, because he said. Because when Preston was asking about, when can it not be on? When can it be on the record? And when I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
When I'm dead. So that's what I was wondering, because in chapter 20 or 21, they talk about him. They talk about him dying, and I honestly was expecting at some point by the end him to say, we had our ups and downs, but I followed Bruce's instructions. So look forward to, book 2, Lost City of the Monkey, got Bruce's adventures or something. Yeah. Or because his wife went to the
Mingo. Her brother's a famous soccer star. What?
All right.
This book is just a good mixture of just has
so many different
side
people.
things. Wait, I want to follow that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could have a whole
Douglas
series of
Simeon
these.
notes.
Yeah. I just want to know. Or he'll open up a Twitter account and just Bruce's quotes.
No, great. Follow.
Even though this technically is not one of his quotes. It's from the letter from the people when they're dying of, that terrible disease, the blankets back in the day, but brought by Columbus.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh. The one with the boils.
I know exactly what you're talking
anyways,
about. Yeah.
It was just like the one indigenous account that exists, and the last line that they included from the letters that they came to wither the flowers, and that just like broke my heart.
Oh yeah.
So there's just like this whole theme, and I'm a big magical realist fan, and there's like this whole thing like when flowers appear, it's like this beautiful happening from the gods. And then that line was like, they came to wither the flowers. It was like, oh no, they came to destroy the culture.
Yeah. And bring disease and oh, well that's
Smallpox.
great.
Yeah,
That one.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so funny, like common knowledge that we all know, and then when you need to recall it, you're like, I know this, I swear, I promise.
Everything about it.
Right? I just don't know the name. So do you have any quotes or any other notes that you took?
Gosh, there are just so many moments, like the pilot saying, "Oh, don't pick the flowers." They can wither the flowers. With the part when Elkin, he finally comes to the expedition, and the author's watching him in his hammock, looking up at the monkeys. The monkeys are looking at him.
Oh.
The monkey, they make a good point where like spider monkeys who have interacted with humans, they're afraid of humans because we kill everything we touch. But these monkeys weren't afraid of the people, so they're just kind of like yelling at them,
And
throwing
then
things at
getting
them.
on.
Yeah. And
Monkeys will be monkeys.
Beautiful moment where there's, like I can imagine all of the greenery and just the humidity. Just I don't know if you've
I'm
ever
trying
been
to
in the
imagine how
forest.
clear that sky would be.
Gosh.
Just like lying out and
When you can
just
see
looking.
it.
Yeah. Well, but just lying. Just lying there, and there were like no bugs until certain points.
Yep.
And you're just like, how tranquil would that be? Like,
When I was out to sea, being outside, you have no lights around you, there's nothing. It's
just
just
that ultimate
clear
sky.
sky. My very last time out to sea, I'll never forget. My friends and I, we went up to the very top of the ship, and we were just laying down, staring up at the sky. The water was very tranquil. The only ripples in it were what we were making. And it was very quiet, and we counted 9 shooting stars. And it was so bright that all the stars reflected onto the water, and we were just in this huge universe of stars. And that, it was the most beautiful. I'll never forget it. Loved it.
and fertile ants just crawled right by.
Yeah, it just crawled right by, and then so I had to cut it off. We ate it for dinner. It was really great.
Delicious.
Decorated our camp with
Exactly. I carry its teeth in a necklace.
This is, the females were the big. Didn't you say it was female? Like the female were the bigger
We're the big
ones?
ones.
Okay.
Which is typical in nature. Women are the more dangerous ones. I just took some simple things. Like my skepticism wasn't easily broken, but my handwriting sucks. But this was oh my gosh, was enough to. This was enough to convince the most. Oh my gosh.
This is the Weinberg.
Basically, it's like the most doubtful person. So yeah, the one who had the most doubt was like, oh God,
It was the
I
guy
get this.
who received
He's receiving the images.
Yeah, after he had sent them and they came back.
And he was like,
And he was like a real, I don't believe this is happening. And then he was just like, look what I found. And everyone was like, whoa.
And then one of the favorite things that I learned was one of the Mayan creations was corn was sacred in the Americas. The Maya creation myth says that people were created from cornmeal dough.
Yes.
I thought that was really cool.
Thought that, yeah.
And that
that.
was really the deepest we went into some of the archaeological, theories as to what they felt and as to what those people were like. So I was I wanted more of that.
They couldn't really go into that because, that's already been discussed and discovered. I actually, when I was reading this, I was having flashbacks to, I believe, Kosai, the new one when they had their exhibit, and they had this beautiful recreation of the Mayan temple that they mentioned in the book. And I was like, I know exactly. I could visualize because I've seen it, and it was wonderful. And I did want more of that too, but then I understood why they didn't go more into it. This is all still theoretical.
Right.
The City of the Jaguar might have had people from the Mayan Empire who brought their works with them, but it's not the same thing.
Right.
So the fact that they still had these altars or thrones or whatever that were shaped like these corn mashers. I can't remember the word for them.
Yeah, I just listened to the quote too 10 times because
Like a flattened mortar pets.
They're talking about the size of it too. It wasn't like
they're
the basic one. It was like,
substantial.
It's people-sized.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So if this was turned into a movie,
I've been thinking that the entire time.
who
trying
would
to
play?
think.
Yeah, you're just waiting for that question. So
I
if,
wrote that.
oh, that's awesome. So if this was turned into a movie, not to be confused with The Lost City of Z.
What's that?
Well, that came out
zombie
around
one?
the same time. No, Lost City of Z is Lost City of Zed. It's another lost.
Oh,
It's another Lost
okay,
City.
sorry. Okay.
So who would play these characters?
Oh Lord.
Specifically,
I'm trying to
Bruce
think if who-
and Doug.
Doug. See, for Doug, I had Kelsey Grammer.
I can see
Yeah.
that,
Like, give him some
especially
hair
looking
here.
at the act
Yeah.
or at the writer. Yeah,
The
I can
writer,
totally
just, like,
see
the
that.
background, and it's kind of, it's this really intelligent, thoughtful, but has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And like has this insight to people. Even though Douglas doesn't ever like go for bad ever, but I really want him to.
I can see that. I like that pick. What about you?
For
Anybody?
I didn't think of you guys. Let me think of one.
All right. Anybody else? I didn't.
So for Chris Fisher, I chose Colin Mockery. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Is that the
Colin
comedian
Mockery?
Colin Mockery?
Yeah, Mockery. I'm like, he
really
just has
funny.
like the energy for it, and he's about the right age, and he kind of looks like him. It's just the guy I had in mind, like especially when he just goes into the jungle and disappears. I'm like, I know who I want to play him in my movie.
I can see it in my head. So I just want Michael Caine to play somebody.
Oh, Michael Caine. He could play the financier.
Yeah.
Benison.
Yep. He looks like a venison.
Yeah, just
Michael
in
Caine.
and out.
Yeah, just pop in with an accent and then leave.
Speaking of people with accents, Woody, I really want.
He's the one that had was his
the three-
Australian?
They're British.
Okay.
I'm Jason Stratham for Woody.
Oh,
John Cena for Spud.
I love your cast. Let's do this. I love
you
the
listening,
cast.
Hollywood?
Yeah, let's do this.
Veteran casting agent. And for like Dr. Rosemary Joyce is between Allison Janney or Sally Field. The archaeologist who's just like, you're wrong, this never happened, but like looks at the artifacts and like, no, it's not a sacrifice, it's a monkey god, look at the erection. Like I just see Allison Janney.
Oh yeah, straight face like,
Yeah.
duh.
Yeah. You guys.
Or who's the other, the tall lady? Jane Lynch.
Oh, I'd love to see Jane Lynch. I would say we rewrite one of these like male scientists as a female and we cast Jane Lynch.
Yes. She's the take charge.
Yes.
Anybody?
I can't. I'm so bad with names.
It's okay.
I haven't.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I'm just.
No sorries.
So Dr. Juan Carlos Hernandez, Michael Pena.
Oh yeah.
Pena. Yep.
Pena.
And if they include like the historical aspect with the flashback with all the con artists, for Theodore Maud, I would really like to see James Franco play the guy who was just like conning everyone.
Dude, yeah, that's totally up his alley.
With all of the like, not only the flashbacks, but like how the beginning starts with like all these, one year, then another year, then another year, with all these people. I try to think of the budget to act like this would have to be like a very well-funded movie because not only there's so many characters, but there's so many on-set locations you have to be at, and it's like
And a lot of CGI.
yeah, and you got to want do you want to make it more realistic? Do you want to make it more like action-packed? Like, do you still keep it the intellect side of it? Do you have people actually there cutting down things and speaking kind of like how they speak in here? Do you bring on somebody just because they're famous? Like
Which happens more often than you'd like to.
Well,
You're like, that person doesn't belong
I've
there.
been sitting here trying to think of who would play Bruce, and I'm like, is it somebody who earns it, or is it going to be someone who's like they just they have a big night? They're going to make Johnny Depp be some
Which is
For
exactly what they
Bruce,
do.
I actually had John Lithgow. I don't know if you ever seen him in For Bad.
Yeah.
I feel like Bruce, he was kind of up there in age, which I didn't realize until I saw the picture. I was like, oh, he's much older than I imagined in my head. So just like an older, tough guy.
I always forget Tim Curry's in his 70s now. I always forget
Yeah.
that. But
Actually,
so
I'd like to see him play Bruce.
There's one guy that they were talking about he's 6'4" or something. I was wondering who that would be. I'm hoping it's not Vince Vaughn.
plays all the tall characters. All right, so as we get ready to wrap up, what, if anything, are you reading now? What kind of books do you like to read?
I just finished Ready Player One.
Okay, I've read that.
That was the first book I ever listened to. Audible, I did that.
I did it on Audible too.
It was my first free
Will
audio
Wheaton did a
book.
great job.
And I was very skeptical because I'm like, Will Wheaton. And what threw me off...
Look at the producer, like,
well, no. What threw me off was that, like, I am very geared toward helping those with special needs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an advocate. And when I heard him say Asperger's, thank you. And I rewound. I went back, and I'm like, no. And that's when I realized that I don't know if it's just, one word or if this is like in an audiobook community thing, but when because we read words incorrectly sometimes and we go back. But I just always imagined that if someone were to read an audiobook, like nothing was wrong. Like, but that is dead wrong. There's no mispronunciation. Like you don't soften that G. It's Asperger's. Like there's no like, well, if you're from this part of the United States, it's Asperger's. It's like no.
This is the word.
No, this is how it is. And the book is wonderful. I mean, it reads really well. I'm excited to see it when it comes out. But it just really threw me off, and that's when I was like, apparently, if you're famous and you can just read whatever you want,
say whatever you want.
It. Like nobody listens to this and edits it. So, but again, that's just one thing, and it just because I appreciate those people, children with autism, adults with autism so much. That's why it just got me like.
It's pretty common
word.
Yeah. But
it isn't.
Yeah.
Cool. So anything you're reading or would recommend or want to read?
Reading so much, actually, I had to stop reading to read this book because it was
I'm
so
the same
difficult
way.
to get into at first. What I'm reading, I'm going to finish reading The Innovation Illusion. The Innovation Illusion, How So Little is Created by So Many Working Hard, by Bjorn Weigel and Frederick Erickson, write down their names. And it's an economics book, a nonfiction, and it goes back and analyzes the past 100 or so years up until now, to where we have all these people who are very working but not producing so much because of the flaw in our current system of economics. And I can't really give much more because I'm not that far into it, but the first chapter I read it, I just picked it up at the library because the cover's bright yellow. It's like something to read while I'm waiting, and it was just amazing, and I bought it, and it's waiting for me.
Yay. Yeah. So I just finished The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks.
Ooh.
Which was really fascinating. I really enjoyed that. It's great on audio too. The narrator was fantastic. But that was really about the HeLa cells and how they keep reproducing. Just first and one of the only that was successfully created in culture and can continue to grow unless they're frozen, because she'll just...
Yeah.
So now comes my absolute favorite part. You don't know about this.
It's the Fertilance head. It's in there.
You haven't heard that the whole time?
The inch and a half fangs. Good Lord, how intimidating would that be? Like, I'm not afraid of snakes, but...
Gosh,
but that thing...
there are, like, yeah.
Do you you had the audiobook. You didn't get to see this. Right, there's a wonderful picture of it. I'm trying to show you.
This picture's on my hardcover.
Where is the freaking
You can
snake
download
head?
the pictures from the audio.
That's the snake head, and that's Woody with the snake.
Let's hold that up to the...
Am I allowed to do...
Yeah, why not?
I don't know. This is zooming in. Oh, okay. And I didn't know this side.
Yeah. So
that makes it so much more
And
enjoyable when you
put
can
a face
visually
with,
see.
Yeah, put a face with the character.
Woody
That was Bruce.
Yeah, doesn't he?
That's almost the guy that I predicted. I just predicted him just a little heavier set with kind of like a scruffy beard.
See, there's some actor that's just like a really big guy, and I can't think of his name, but he's also kind of like gingery, and that's who I imagine playing him. I can't remember what his name is or what nationality, but he's just like an actual like. So that guy, Bruce doesn't look as big as the author made him, but yeah.
It's that personality.
Yeah.
So while Nathan oohs and ahs over the pictures.
Well, no, this is like the stuff that you kind of think of are just.
And the artifacts and stuff. I had to go look up some of those pictures.
So while I was reading this book, one of the clients came up to me. She said, we share books all the time. And I told her about this book. I was like, oh, I read the article. Wow. I read the article about this. You have to tell me how the book is and how the movie is. And so...
Are they making a movie?
It's from the documentary.
Yeah. I don't know if you... Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
So I don't know. It's just like one of those random things.
So our very next book is Mrs. Sherlock Holmes by Brad Ricca, which is the story of the very first female district attorney.
Ooh.
So you get a copy. And Nathan, I got one for you too.
A book about a woman.
Yay. Hey, now.
Acting. See, you guys hated me.
Acting
I'm
will
good.
get you
I
killed.
wanted to hit you
Yeah,
with the book.
right. So, well, we could take you. You know that. So there's a bone right here. There's a brone right here. Oh, he
No, thank
doesn't
you.
mean it. He's nice.
I don't know.
No,
So
I
any,
made that first impression.
I know you do. Any final thoughts? Anything else?
Well, this was fun.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you for coming.
I guess my final thought with Lost City of the Monkey God, to anyone like me who is kind of weary toward non-fictional books, as long as you give it its due for the first few chapters, like let it build, there's a method to what Preston is doing, and it does help you to appreciate it more. Like when they're walking around, you start thinking of things from the past that he mentioned that you didn't even realize you would. So I would at least give it the benefit of the doubt. At least listen to it. If you're one of those that's hard to read books like this, then listen to it. And once you get through the first few chapters, it does become worth it. And the ending, although I think the ending is boring, it's very informative, and it's a reality.
It's a downer.
Yeah, it's
We're all
putting
Fact
it
of
on.
life.
But it makes you aware, like when you visit, like, because I've been to Texas and I never thought of anything like that. Nope. So you just
But it's not the same kind, which is
Yeah.
better.
Right.
It's not the face
Is it more
eating
curable?
kind. It's the cut it off and you're good kind.
so
Steak knife.
I would at least give it a shot.
Awesome. Little endorsement from a picky man. Thank you guys so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
That was so much fun. I want to give a huge thank you again to Nathan and Alanna for being here with me today to talk about The Lost City of the Monkey God. So please tell me what you think, what you thought about it. Leave it in the comments. Any recommendations you have for any of us, any book recs that you liked, please let us know. The next book is Mrs. Sherlock Holmes by Brad Ricca. Ricca, R-I-C-C-A, Ricca, whatever, his name. And I hope you guys enjoy that. That starts tomorrow, April 1st, and I'm really excited to get into it. This production of Quarterly Book Club is brought to you by IABD Presents, so please go to iabdpresents.com and check out all of our really cool written work, other videos, and podcasts. Podcasts like It's All Been Done Radio Hour, which is a modern, geeky, scripted, audio drama, comedy drama, dramedy. We'll go with dramedy. So check it out, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.